The monitoring station floated in the cold darkness of space, a small metal island orbiting Europa's frozen surface. Inside, Captain Tae-Yong sat in his chair, watching the endless stream of data flowing across the screens. It was his third year commanding Sentinel Prime, and most days were exactly the same. Radio signals from Earth's colonies, automated reports from mining ships, and the occasional meteor warning. Nothing exciting ever happened this far from home. Dr. Sora walked into the command center carrying a cup of coffee. She worked the night shift, listening to the void between stars. Her job was simple, but lonely. She searched for signs of intelligent life in the universe. After 5 years of hearing nothing but static and natural radio waves, she had almost given up hope. "Anything interesting tonight?" Tae-Yong asked, not expecting much. Sora shook her head and sat at her station. She put on her headphones and began her routine checks. The first hour passed without anything unusual. Then, at exactly 3:47 station time, her computer made a sound it had never made before. A sharp, clear tone that cut through the background noise like a knife. Her hands froze over the keyboard. She adjusted the frequency and listened again. The signal was there, steady and strong, coming from deep space. It was not from any human source. She checked and double-checked her instruments. Her heart began to race. "Captain," she said quietly, "I think you need to see this." Tae-Yong crossed the room in 3 quick steps. He looked at her screen, trying to understand what he was seeing. The signal had structure. It repeated in patterns that could not be natural. Mathematics. Intelligence. Something out there was trying to communicate. "Where is it coming from?" he asked. Sora's fingers flew across the keyboard. "Approximately 47 light-years away. The signal is old, Captain. It has been traveling through space for almost 5 decades. Lieutenant Minho, the communications officer, joined them. He was young and eager, fresh from the academy. Is this real? Is this actually happening? Record everything," Tae-Yong ordered. "I want every detail analyzed. Dr. Sora, can you decode it?" Sora downloaded the signal and began working. The mathematics were complex but followable. Whoever sent this message wanted it to be understood. She worked through the night and into the next day. Tae-Yong brought her food and coffee, but she barely noticed. Her entire world had narrowed to the patterns on her screen. On the second day, she found the first image. It appeared on her monitor like a ghost from the past. A city under a purple sky. Buildings that looked nothing like human architecture. Shapes that suggested intelligence, culture, civilization. But something was wrong with the image. Parts of it were dark, destroyed, burning. "Oh no," she whispered. More images followed. Beings that walked on 2 legs but were not human. They had 4 arms and large eyes that reflected light strangely. They were in chains. They were dying. The images showed horror that made Sora feel sick. Mass graves. Children separated from parents. Entire populations forced into labor camps. On the third day, she decoded the message that came with the images. Her hands shook as she read it aloud to Tae-Yong and Minho. They came without warning. They take everything. They take our people. They take our children. They destroy our cities and make us slaves. We have no weapons strong enough to fight them. We have no ships fast enough to escape. Please, if anyone can hear this, if anyone is out there, help us. We are dying. Our world is dying. Please help." The command center fell silent. Tae-Yong stood very still, staring at the images on the screen. Minho had tears in his eyes. Sora felt hollow inside, like someone had carved out her chest. "The signal is 47 years old," Minho said. "These people might already be dead, or they might still be suffering," Tae-Yong replied. His voice was hard. "Continue the analysis. I need to know everything. Who sent this? Who attacked them? What are the coordinates?" Sora worked for another full day. She found more information buried in the signal. The planet was called Chiron 4. The people called themselves the Chiron. They had been a peaceful civilization, focused on art and philosophy. They had just begun exploring their own solar system when the attackers arrived. The attackers called themselves the Krell Dominion. They were an empire that traveled between stars, taking what they wanted. They enslaved entire species and harvested worlds for resources. According to the message, the Krell had done this to many others before the Chiron. Why didn't they come to our space? Minho asked. We are closer than Chiron 4. Maybe they did, Taeyang said. Maybe we just never noticed, or maybe they avoided us for some reason. He sent everything to Earth Command immediately. The message traveled at light speed back to humanity's homeworld. Taeyang knew it would cause chaos. This was first contact, but not the kind anyone had hoped for. This was not a friendly greeting between equals. This was a cry for help from the dying. For 3 days, they waited for Earth's response. The waiting was terrible. Sora could not sleep. She kept thinking about the Chiron, wondering if any of them were still alive. She thought about the children in the images, torn from their families. She thought about a civilization that had built beautiful cities under purple skies, now reduced to slavery and ash. Minho spent his time calculating. Even if we sent ships today, it would take weeks to reach them, maybe months, depending on the route. We might arrive to find nothing but ruins. Then we document the ruins, Taeyang said. We make sure the galaxy knows what happened there. We make sure it never happens again. On the 4th day, Earth Command responded. The message was simple and clear. A council meeting had been called. Every nation on Earth, every colony in space, every voice that mattered would be heard. They would decide together what humanity should do. Taeyang read the message to his crew. They are taking this seriously. That is good. Taeyang read the message. Taeyang read the message. Taeyang read the message. Sora looked at the images on her screen one more time. The faces of the Chiron stared back at her. They looked so frightened, so hopeless. They had sent their message into the void, not knowing if anyone would ever hear it. They had no reason to believe help would come. Captain, she said, what do you think Earth will decide? Taeyang was quiet for a long moment. He thought about humanity's history, the wars, the near extinction, the hard lessons learned about standing by while others suffered. He thought about what it meant to be human in a universe that was bigger and darker than anyone had imagined. I think, he said finally, that we will surprise them. All of them. The emergency council chamber in Geneva was filled with holographic projections. Representatives from Earth's nations stood alongside colonists from Mars, the asteroid belt, and the outer system. Everyone had dropped everything to attend this meeting. Chancellor Hyarin stood at the center podium, her face grave and tired. She had not slept since receiving the report from Sentinel Prime. We have all seen the images, she began. We have all read the translated message. The question before us today is simple. What do we do? Admiral Daehyun stood from his seat. He was old, with scars from the Mars Rebellion still visible on his hands. He commanded the entire Earth combined fleet. Every warship humanity had built. The signal is nearly 50 years old. We have no way of knowing the current situation. For all we know, the Chiron are already extinct. Does that matter? A voice called out. It was General Kyungmin from Strategic Defense. Even if they are gone, this Krell Dominion is still out there. They are still enslaving species. They might come to our space next. Ambassador Nari activated her hologram from the lunar colony. She was humanity's lead diplomat, trained in peaceful solutions. We need to be careful. This would be humanity's first contact with an alien civilization. We have no idea what we are walking into. The Krell might be more powerful than we can handle. We might start a war we cannot win. We might already be in that war, said a representative from the Titan colony. If the Krell have been operating near our space for decades, they know about us. They might be watching us right now, deciding when to attack. The chamber erupted in arguments. Some wanted immediate military action. Others wanted to send only a small exploration team. A few suggested ignoring the message entirely, claiming it was not humanity's problem. Chancellor Hyarin raised her hand for silence. Dr. Sora is here to present her full analysis. Please, everyone listen. The hologram shifted to show Sora standing in a smaller room. She looked nervous but determined. I have decoded as much of the message as possible. The Chiron were attacked by the Krell Dominion approximately 47 years ago. The Krell are a spacefaring empire that specializes in conquest and slavery. According to the data in the signal, they have enslaved at least 17 different species across 50 worlds. Shocked whispers filled the chamber. Sora continued. The Krell use advanced technology, but their methods are brutal. They overwhelm planets with numbers and fear. They do not try to negotiate. They simply take what they want. The Chiron had no chance against them. Why have we never encountered them? Someone asked. A new figure appeared in the hologram. It was Intelligence Officer Ji-Wan, young but sharp. We have, actually. We just did not know it. 12 years ago, one of our deep space probes went silent near the edge of explored territory. We thought it was a malfunction. 8 years ago, a mining ship disappeared in the outer belt. No wreckage found. 6 years ago, strange signals were detected coming from an uninhabited system. Then, suddenly stopped. You think the Krell were responsible? Admiral Daehyun asked. I think they were testing us, Ji-Wan replied. Watching to see how we would react. They might have decided we were not worth attacking yet. Or maybe they were waiting for the right moment. The chamber fell silent. Everyone was thinking the same thing. Humanity had been living next to a threat they never knew existed. Ambassador Nari spoke again. Even if all of this is true, we need to think carefully. We are talking about sending our fleet across space to fight an unknown enemy. We could lose thousands of lives. We could lose ships we cannot afford to replace. And, for what? To save people who might already be dead? General Kyungmin stood up, his face red with anger. So we do nothing? We let this empire continue enslaving and killing because it is easier than fighting? I am saying we need to be smart, Nari shot back. We need to think about humanity's survival first. Is that what we have become? Asked a quiet voice. Everyone turned to look. It was a representative from the African Union. An elderly woman named Adeyemi. Have we forgotten our own history so quickly? 100 years ago, we nearly destroyed ourselves. Nation fought nation. We built weapons that could end all life on Earth. We stood on the edge of extinction. She walked to the center of the chamber. We survived because we learned. We learned that standing by while others suffer is not neutrality. It is choosing the side of the oppressor. We learned that we are stronger together than apart. Now, we have a chance to show that we meant those lessons. That we are better than we were. Chancellor Hyarin nodded slowly. Admiral Daehyun, what is the status of our fleet? The admiral pulled up military reports. We have 2 dreadnoughts, fully operational. 8 cruisers. 15 destroyers. 4 carrier vessels with fighter squadrons. Support ships for medical and supply. We can assemble a task force within 2 weeks. And the journey time? 3 weeks through slip space to reach the Chiron system. Maybe 4, if we encounter problems. So, 5 to 6 weeks total before we arrive, Hyarin calculated. In that time, we will not know what we are flying into. We could arrive to find the Krell have moved on. Or we could find an active war zone. Thanks for watching. Will howling the time. Thanks for watching. Well 132 Hout. What are you thinking, Chancellor? Hyarin looked at all the faces watching her. She thought about the Chiron crying out into the void, hoping someone would hear. She thought about humanity's bloody history and hard-won wisdom. She thought about what kind of species she wanted humanity to be. I am thinking that we did not come this far, survive this much, only to ignore suffering when we have the power to stop it. I am thinking that if we want to be part of a larger galaxy, we need to show what we stand for. And I am thinking that no one should have to die alone in the dark, believing no help will come. She turned to Admiral Daehyun. Assemble your task force. I want reconnaissance first. Assess the situation, but prepare for full military intervention, if needed. If the Krell are still there, if they are still hurting the Chiron, then we respond with everything we have. And if the Krell retaliate? Nari asked. Then we show them why it was a mistake to underestimate humanity, Hyarin said. Her voice was steel. For too long, we prepared for war against ourselves. Now we will show the galaxy what happens when humans fight for something other than pride or territory. We fight for those who cannot fight for themselves, Admiral Daehyun saluted. I will have the fleet ready in 10 days. The council voted. It was not unanimous, but the majority agreed. Humanity would respond to the distress call. They would cross the stars to face an unknown enemy. They would risk everything for people they had never met. As the council ended, Ji-won approached the Chancellor privately. You know, this might start something we cannot stop. The Krell will not forget this. Hyarin smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Good. Let them remember. Let them tell every slaver and tyrant in the galaxy that humanity is coming. And let them be afraid. Tastin 4. End quote. The slipspace tunnel collapsed behind the last ship, and suddenly, the fleet was there. 49 vessels of the United Earth Coalition hung in the darkness above Chiron 4. Commander Sunho stood on the bridge of the dreadnought, indomitable, watching the planet grow larger on the main screen. It was beautiful. Purple forests covered most of the continents. 2 small moons orbited close, casting strange shadows on the surface. But the beauty was broken. Sunho could see the scars even from orbit. Huge sections of forest were gone, replaced by gray mining facilities. The atmosphere had a hazy quality that suggested industrial pollution. And everywhere, there were ships, not human ships. Scan complete, reported Engineer Murray from her station, detecting 3 large vessels in low orbit. Configuration unknown, but they match the size of heavy freighters. Multiple smaller craft moving between the surface and the orbital ships. Any weapons signatures? Sunho asked. The orbital ships have defensive capabilities, but they are not warships. The smaller craft are unarmed transports. Major Hana, leader of the orbital drop forces, stepped up beside Sunho. She had been checking her armor the entire journey. They feel safe here. No defenses, no patrols. They think they own this place. Tactical. What else do we have? Sunho asked. Tactical Officer Hansel pulled up more data. Heavy debris in orbital space. Looks like destroyed satellites. Some are old, maybe from before the invasion. Others are newer. The Krell probably destroyed any communication systems the Chiron tried to rebuild. And on the surface? Multiple large facilities. Mining operations mostly. But there are also what look like containment areas. Camps. Quote, Sunho felt his jaw tighten. Prison camps. Yes, Commander. I want eyes on those camps. Launch reconnaissance drones immediately. Pilot Yujin was already moving. She was the best reconnaissance pilot in the fleet, famous for getting in and out without being detected. Launching now. Commander. Stealth drones, going active. The drones were small, barely larger than a human hand. They used advanced materials that absorbed radar and moved silently through atmosphere. Within minutes, they were sending back video from the surface. What they showed made everyone on the bridge stop breathing. The camps were massive. Thousands of Chiron were imprisoned behind energy barriers and guard towers. They were thin, starving. Many showed signs of injury. They worked in the mines, digging until they collapsed. Guards walked among them. Creatures that stood 8 feet tall with thick armor-like skin. The guards carried weapons that sparked with electricity. One drone focused on a specific scene. A young Chiran, maybe equivalent to a human teenager, had fallen from exhaustion. A guard approached and kicked them. When the young one did not get up fast enough, the guard raised his weapon. "Cut the feed," Sunho said quietly. "Commander, we should document," Mireille started. "I said cut it." Sunho's voice was hard as stone. "I have seen enough, but the damage was done." Everyone on the bridge had seen. The same footage was playing on every ship in the fleet. Sunho could hear the communications channels lighting up. Anger. Rage. Every human in the fleet had just witnessed cruelty that made their blood boil. "Commander," Hansol said carefully, "I am detecting larger vessels entering the system. Multiple signatures. Big ones." The main screen shifted. A fleet was arriving from deeper in the system. Not freighters this time. Warships. 40 vessels of various sizes, all bristling with weapons. They moved into formation between the human fleet and Chiron 4. "That would be the Krell military," Sunho said. Admiral Daehyun's voice came over the fleet-wide channel. He was commanding from the 2nd Dreadnought. "The Valiant. All ships. This is the Admiral. Hold position. Let them make the first move." A communication signal came from the Krell fleet. Mireille translated it, using the linguistic data from the original Chiron message. "They are hailing us, Commander. Put it through." The voice that came through was harsh and grating. It spoke in a language the computers translated in real time. "Unknown vessels. You are in Dominion space. State your purpose, or be destroyed." Sunho glanced at Admiral Daehyun's image on his personal screen. The Admiral nodded. Sunho opened a channel. "This is Commander Sunho of the United Earth Coalition. We received a distress call from this world." There was a pause, then something that might have been laughter. "A distress call? From this primitive world? How amusing. This world belongs to the Dominion. The inhabitants are property. You have no authority here." "We are making this authority," Sunho replied. "Release the Chiron people immediately. Surrender your vessels. You have 1 hour to comply." The laughter came again, louder this time. "Primitive apes who barely crawl between stars dare threaten the Dominion? You know nothing of galactic power. Your small fleet is meaningless. Leave now, or we will add your worlds to our collection." Admiral Daehyun cut into the channel. His voice was calm, almost pleasant. "Let me make sure I understand. You invade peaceful worlds. You enslave entire populations. You murder children for entertainment. And you think this makes you powerful? It makes us the Dominion," the Krell commander replied. "We take what we want, because no one can stop us." "I see," the Admiral said. "And you are giving us one chance to leave?" "Yes. Run back to your small corner of space. Forget what you have seen here. Or die." "How generous," the Admiral said. "We gave you the same choice. 1 hour to surrender. But you laughed. You mocked us. You called us primitive. Because you are." "No." The Admiral's voice turned cold. "We are patient. We are measured. We gave you a choice, because that is what civilized beings do. You made your choice. You chose wrong." He closed the channel and opened the fleet-wide network. "All ships, battle stations, execute Protocol Phoenix." Sunho felt the deck vibrate beneath his feet as the Indomitable powered up its weapons. All around the fleet, ships were doing the same. But they were not just powering weapons. They were activating systems the Krell had never seen before. "Ghost protocols active," Mireille reported. "Electronic warfare suite online. Stealth fields engaged." On the Krell sensors, the human fleet simply vanished. 49 ships disappeared from their screens like they had never existed. "What is happening?" Major Hana asked. Sunyo smiled. It was not a nice smile. The Krell expect conventional warfare. Energy shields, plasma weapons. The same technology everyone uses. They do not know that humans developed something different. The Indomitable's main guns locked onto the Krell command ship. They were railguns, using magnetic acceleration to fire solid projectiles at a significant fraction of light speed. No energy signature. No warning. Just kinetic death moving faster than the Krell could track. "All ships," Admiral Daehyun's voice echoed across the fleet. "Fire." The darkness of space lit up with silent fury. 49 human warships opened fire at once. Railgun rounds crossed the distance in seconds, hitting the Krell fleet before they could even react. Shields designed to stop energy weapons did nothing against solid metal moving at relativistic speeds. The Krell command ship exploded. Its sister ships started to burn, and the battle for Chiron 4 had begun. Commander Sunho watched as the Krell fleet, which had been so confident moments before, scrambled in confusion. They were firing wildly at empty space, unable to target what they could not see. "Major Hana," Sunho said calmly. "Prepare your forces for orbital insertion. I want those camps liberated within the hour." Hana's grin was fierce. "Yes, Commander. It will be our pleasure." The Krell fleet had faced many enemies across the galaxy. They had crushed rebellions, destroyed armadas, and never once faced true defeat. They were confident in their superiority. That confidence died in the first 5 minutes of battle. The human ships moved like ghosts, appearing on sensors for split seconds before vanishing again. Railgun rounds punched through Krell armor like paper. The Krell tried to adapt, spreading their formation, attempting evasive maneuvers. But the humans had already calculated every possible response. Commander Sunho watched the tactical display from the Indomitable's bridge. The Krell were trying to retreat now, realizing too late that they were outmatched. Tactical. Deploy gravitic mines. Cut off their escape routes. Hansol executed the command. Small devices launched from the fleet's support ships, positioning themselves at key points in space. When the first Krell vessel tried to activate its jump drive to escape, the mines created gravitational distortions that collapsed the jump point. The ship exploded as its own drive tore itself apart. "Jump point sealed, Commander," Hansol reported. "They are trapped." "Good. Continue systematic targeting. I want their weapons disabled first, then their engines. Any ship that surrenders is to be spared." But the Krell did not surrender. They were too proud, too certain that they could still win. They fought desperately, throwing everything they had at the ghost ships they could barely see. It made no difference. Human electronic warfare was decades ahead of anything the Krell had encountered. Every targeting system was confused. Every sensor was blind. Every communication was jammed. From the Valiant, Admiral Daehyun targeted the largest Krell battleship. "Mireille, I want you to do something for me." Engineer Mireille's voice came through from the Indomitable. "I want you to hack their communication networks. I want every Krell in their empire to see what happens next. Broadcasting now, Admiral. Every Krell frequency is open. They are watching." "Perfect." The Admiral opened a channel to the Krell battleship. "This is Admiral Daehyun of Earth. You called us primitive. You said we knew nothing of galactic power. Let me educate you. Over though. Primitive sover. I'm of galactic power. Let me educate you." The Valiant's main guns fired. The concentrated railgun barrage hit the Krell battleship's midsection, tearing completely through its armor, structure, and out the other side. The massive vessel broke in half, atmosphere venting in brilliant white streams. "That is lesson 1. The Admiral continued. "Never underestimate an enemy. Now for lesson 2. Never, ever, hurt children in front of humans." Meanwhile, Major Hana stood in the drop bay of the carrier vessel Freedom. Behind her, 10,000 soldiers in powered armor waited in perfect formation. Each suit was a masterpiece of human engineering. Advanced servos that multiplied strength, armor that could withstand small arms fire, integrated weapons systems, and jump packs that allowed controlled atmospheric entry. "Listen up," Hana called out. Her voice echoed through every soldier's helmet. "Down there are innocent people who have been suffering for nearly 50 years. They sent a message hoping someone would hear. We heard. And today, we answer." She turned to face the open bay doors. Beyond them was the purple planet, beautiful and broken. "We are going to drop through fire. We are going to hit the ground running. And we are not going to stop until every single Chiron is free. Am I clear?" "Sir, yes, sir." The response was thunderous. "Then let's go be heroes." Hana stepped forward and dropped into space. 10,000 soldiers followed, falling like meteors through Chiron 4's atmosphere. Their armor absorbed the heat and friction. To anyone on the ground, it looked like the sky was raining fire. Sergeant Unji commanded a special operations unit of 200 soldiers. Their target was the largest prison camp, holding over 5,000 Chiron. As she fell through the clouds, she could see the camp below, gray and ugly against the purple forest. "Impact in 30 seconds, her suit's computer announced. "Prepare for ground insertion." At 500 meters, her jump pack fired, slowing her descent. She hit the ground hard, but controlled. Armor absorbing the impact. Around her, her unit landed in a perfect circle around the camp perimeter. The Krell guards were confused, still looking at the sky. They had never seen an orbital drop assault before. By the time they turned their weapons toward the humans, it was already over. Unji's rifle was a magnetic accelerator, silent and precise. She dropped 3 guards in 3 shots. Her soldiers moved with practiced efficiency, clearing the perimeter in seconds. The Krell were bigger, stronger than humans. But human armor multiplied strength, and human training emphasized speed and precision. "Breach the gates," Unji ordered. "Medical teams, prepare to receive prisoners." 2 soldiers placed shaped charges on the energy barrier generators. The explosions were controlled, directed inward. The barriers failed and collapsed. For the first time in decades, the prison camp was open. The Chiron inside were terrified. They cowered, expecting another punishment, another cruelty. They did not understand what was happening. Unji removed her helmet so they could see her face. She activated her translator. "We are humans. We heard your message. We came to help. You are free." For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, one Chiron, an elderly individual with gray skin and tired eyes, stepped forward. "Free?" The words sounded strange in their mouth, like they had forgotten what it meant. "Free," Unji confirmed. "We are taking you to safety. Medical help is coming. You are never going back in those camps." The elderly Chiron fell to their knees and wept. Others followed, the sound of their crying spreading through the camp. Not tears of sadness now, but of relief, of joy. All across the planet, similar scenes played out. Human soldiers liberated camp after camp. Some Krell guards tried to fight. None succeeded. The humans moved with a terrible efficiency. Neither cruel nor merciful. Simply unstoppable. In orbit, the space battle was ending. Of the 40 Krell vessels, 32 were destroyed or disabled. The remaining 8 had attempted one final coordinated attack, throwing themselves at the human fleet in desperation. Commander Sunho watched them come. "All ships, concentrated fire. End this." The human fleet fired as one. The 8 Krell ships never got close. They died in silent explosions. Brief stars in the darkness. "Admiral," Sunho reported. "Space is clear. No Krell vessels remain operational." "Casualties?" Admiral Daehyun asked. 53 dead across the fleet. 300 wounded. "We have lost 1 destroyer, the Dauntless. They took a direct hit, protecting a transport ship. Make sure their families know they died as heroes. The Admiral's voice was heavy. Every loss hurt. What about the ground forces? Major Haina's voice came through from the surface. All camps secured. We have freed approximately 27,000 Chiron. Medical teams are providing care. Casualties on our side are 194 dead, 800 wounded. The Krell on the surface either surrendered or died fighting. Good work, Major. Begin consolidation operations. Make sure those people are comfortable. Engineer Mirai spoke up from her station on the Indomitable. Commander, I have been monitoring Krell communications across the hacked network. Their empire is in chaos. We just broadcast their defeat across dozens of star systems. Other enslaved species are seeing this. Some are beginning to rebel. Let them, Admiral Daehyun said. Let every slave in the galaxy know that help is coming. Let every slaver know that their time is ending. On the surface, Sergeant Unji stood on a hill overlooking the liberated camp. Medical stations were set up everywhere. Human doctors working alongside improvised Chiron translators to provide care. Children who had never known freedom were laughing, running through the purple grass. One Chiron child approached Unji shyly. They held something small and purple. A flower from the native forest. The child offered it to her. Speaking in their own language, Unji's translator worked. Thank you for saving us. Are you angels? Unji knelt down to the child's level. She took the flower carefully. The child's large eyes filled with tears, but they were smiling. We did, Unji said softly, and we are never leaving you alone again. 2 weeks had passed since the battle. Chiron 4 was slowly healing. Human engineers worked alongside Chiron survivors, rebuilding what had been destroyed. Medical stations had treated thousands of injured and sick. Food supplies were being distributed from Earth's cargo ships. And for the first time in nearly 5 decades, the Chiron could look at their sky without fear. Captain Taiyang stood in what had once been a prison camp and was now a temporary settlement. Human prefab buildings mixed with Chiron traditional structures that survivors had begun rebuilding. Children played games that mixed human and Chiron styles, their laughter echoing across the compound. Dr. Sora worked with a group of Chiron scholars, establishing real communication beyond simple translation. The Chiron language was beautiful, full of musical tones and gestures. Sora was learning fast and teaching them human languages in return. Dr. Sora, one of the Chiron elders called. Her name was Reyna, and she had been a teacher before the invasion. Now she was serving as a leader for her people. The Chancellor has arrived. They want to speak with our council. Chancellor Hiren's ship had entered orbit that morning. This was not a military vessel but a diplomatic transport, sent from Earth to establish formal first contact. Sora felt nervous. This moment would define humanity's place in the galaxy. The meeting took place in a restored building that had once been a Chiron cultural center. The architecture was elegant, with flowing curves and windows that caught the purple light from outside. Chiron leaders sat on one side of a large circular table. On the other side, Chancellor Hiren sat with Admiral Daehyun and Ambassador Nari. Elder Reyna spoke first, through Sora's translation. Chancellor Hiren of Earth, we welcome you to our world, though we wish it were under better circumstances. Hiren bowed her head respectfully. Elder Reyna, please know that we grieve for what was done to your people. No civilization should suffer what you have endured. You came when we called, Reyna said simply. After 47 years, we had stopped hoping. We thought our message was lost in the void. But you came. Why? Hiren considered her words carefully. Because we understand suffering. 100 years ago, humans nearly destroyed themselves. We fought terrible wars. We built weapons that could end all life. We stood on the edge of our own extinction. She paused, making sure the translation was clear. We survived because we learned that we could not live in isolation. That when we ignore the suffering of others, we diminish ourselves. When your message reached us, We could not ignore it. We would not. Another Chiron elder spoke. His name was Volan, and he had been a historian. The Krell told us we were alone, that no one in the galaxy cared about the weak. That power was the only thing that mattered. The Krell were wrong, Admiral Dahyun said firmly. Power without principle is just cruelty. You were never weak. You were peaceful. There is a difference. Reyna's eyes filled with tears. Our world was beautiful once. We had art, philosophy, science. We were learning to travel between the stars. Then the Krell came and took everything. Our cities, our culture, our people. They lied, Hiron said. You are a civilization with a history and a future, and we want to help you reclaim both. Volan leaned forward. We have learned things during our captivity. The Krell Dominion is vast. They control hundreds of worlds. They have enslaved 17 different intelligent species that we know of, possibly more. You defeated their fleet here, but this was just a small part of their empire. We know, Hiron said. And that is why I am here to ask you something difficult. We want to help free the other enslaved species. But to do that, we need to understand what we are fighting against. We need your knowledge of the Krell, their tactics, their weaknesses. Reyna and Volan exchanged glances. Another elder, a younger Chiron named Solon, spoke up. You would fight the entire Krell Dominion? For people you have never met? Yes, Hiron said without hesitation. Because it is right, because we have the power to make a difference, and because we refuse to live in a galaxy where slavery and genocide are accepted. Solon stood and walked to a window. He looked out at the purple forests that were slowly recovering. Before the Krell came, we believed the universe was fundamentally good. We thought intelligent life would be peaceful, cooperative. The Krell taught us we were wrong. He turned back to face the humans. But now, you have come. You crossed the stars, not for conquest or resources, but because you heard someone crying for help. Maybe we were not wrong. Maybe we just had not met the right people yet. The meeting continued for hours. The Chiron shared everything they knew about the Krell. Location of other enslaved worlds. Details about Krell military structure. Weaknesses in their technology and tactics. In return, Hiron made promises about rebuilding support, technology sharing, and permanent protection. Finally, as the meeting was ending, Reyna asked the question that had been weighing on everyone. What happens now? To our world? To us? Hiron smiled gently. This is your world. You decide what happens to it. We will help you rebuild if you want our help. We will share technology if you want to learn. We will defend you if you are threatened. But we will not control you. And the galaxy? Volan asked. What will you do about the Krell? I am going to send a message, Hiron said. Not just to the Krell, but to every civilization that can receive it. It is time for the galaxy to know that humanity exists, and to understand what we stand for. We Keneng. That evening, as the twin moons rose over Chiron 4, Chancellor Hiron recorded her message. It was broadcast on every frequency, sent to every corner of known space that human sensors could reach. Dr. Sora helped craft it to be translatable by any intelligence that might receive it. My name is Chancellor Hiron of the United Earth Coalition. I speak on behalf of all humanity. For thousands of years, we existed alone on our world, believing we were the only intelligent life in the universe. We were wrong. And today, we introduce ourselves to the wider galaxy under difficult circumstances. The broadcast included footage of the battle at Chiron 4. It showed the Krell atrocities. It showed human ships arriving. It showed the liberation of the camps. And it showed Chiron children smiling again. 47 years ago, the Chiron people sent a distress call into the void, hoping someone would hear. We heard, and we responded. We crossed the stars to face an enemy we had never met, to save people we did not know. because it was the right thing to do. Hiram's face was serious, her voice steady. To those who suffer under oppression across the galaxy, know this. You are not alone. You are not forgotten. We heard the Chiron cry for help, and we will hear yours too. Humanity is coming, and we bring freedom with us. She paused, letting that sink in. To those who profit from suffering, to those who enslave and murder and destroy, hear this warning. Your time is ending. We will find every camp, every prison, every chain. We will break them all, and we will hold you accountable for every crime you have committed. The broadcast showed more footage. Human soldiers helping Chiron rebuild, medical teams treating the sick, engineers restoring power and water systems, children from both species playing together. This is not a threat. This is a promise. We are humanity, and we do not abandon those in need. We do not turn away from injustice. We do not accept that might makes right, and we will fight for as long as it takes to make sure every intelligent being in this galaxy has the chance to live in freedom. Hiram ended the broadcast with one final image. It was the monument that had been erected at the first liberated camp. Black stone carved with names, thousands of them. Every Chiron who had died under Krell rule. At the bottom was an inscription in both languages. We heard your call. We will never forget. The broadcast reached across space at the speed of light. Within hours, it was received by civilizations near human space. Within days, it spread further. Enslaved populations watched in secret, hope kindling in their hearts for the first time in generations. Free civilizations watched and wondered what this new power meant for the galactic order, and in the deep heart of Krell space, their ruling council gathered to watch the broadcast. The chamber was silent as it played. When it ended, the High Overseer, an ancient Krell who had ruled for 3 centuries, spoke. I told the military commanders to leave the humans alone. We encountered them decades ago. We studied them from a distance. Do you know what I learned? The other council members waited. They fight each other constantly. Their worlds were divided, their people aggressive and territorial. I thought they would destroy themselves eventually, so we left them alone. We focused on easier prey. His voice was full of regret. I was wrong. We did not understand what we were seeing. What were we seeing? Another council member asked. Practice, the High Overseer said. They were not destroying themselves. They were training. They spent thousands of years learning how to fight wars, developing weapons, testing tactics. Then they stopped fighting each other and unified. He played the battle footage again, watching the human ships tear apart the Krell fleet with contempt. We awakened something ancient and terrible. We hurt their allies. We hurt children in front of them, and now they are coming for us with everything they have learned. What do we do? Someone asked quietly. The High Overseer stood, looking old and tired. We prepare for war, not because we can win, but because we have no choice. We poked a sleeping giant. Now we will see what humanity really is when they stop holding back. Back on Chiron 4, Captain Taeyang stood with Sergeant Unji on a hill overlooking the restored settlement. The purple sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of violet and gold. Do you think the Chancellor's message will work? Unji asked. It already has, Taeyang said. Intelligence reports are coming in. 3 enslaved species have started rebellions. 2 civilizations have offered to join a coalition against the Krell, and at least 5 Krell slave worlds are in chaos. Good. Taeyang smiled. Admiral Daehyun is already planning the next operation. 17 enslaved worlds, he said. We are going to free them all. It will take years. Then it takes years. We did not come this far to stop now. A Chiron child ran up the hill, the same one who had given Yunji the flower. They were holding something new. A small woven bracelet made from purple grass. They offered it to Taeyang. Through the translator, their words were simple. For the captain who saved us. Thank you. Taeyang knelt and accepted the bracelet with both hands, the gesture respectful. We are honored to help. And we promise, little one, you will never be alone again. The child smiled and ran back down the hill, joining other children in their games. Human and Kai ran together, building friendships that would last lifetimes. Taeyang stood, looking up at the stars beginning to appear in the darkening sky. Somewhere out there were more people calling for help. More civilizations suffering under tyranny. And now, they had hope. Because humanity had heard one call, and answered. And they would answer them all.